But there's been a variety of studies, actually a lot of them coming out in 2024 last year, some new ones coming out this year, showing that microplastics seem to accumulate in the brain 10 to 20 times more than other organs. And here's why that's a problem. Because in that same study, they looked postmortem at people that had dementia, like Alzheimer's disease. And those individuals that had dementia and Alzheimer's disease had 10 times more microplastics in their brains than people that did not have dementia and Alzheimer's disease. 10 times more. So, of course, this is a correlation. You can't necessarily say this is causing it, right? Microplastics are causing Alzheimer's disease. But there are animal studies that have shown that microplastics in the brain can cause inflammation, chronic inflammation. And we do know that plays a big role in brain aging, dementia, and Alzheimer's disease.
I guess, well, you mentioned before the sort of types of plastics that we're talking about. I've heard about, what have I heard about? BPAs, heard about those. What else? Are we worried about BPAs anymore? Or is that like...
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the bisphenol A is a chemical that is put into plastic. It's a chemical that's it helps with durability, robustness, flexibility, right? So those chemicals would be bisphenol A, BPA. Phthalates are another one. Then there's BPS, which is the replacement for BPA. So you'll often hear BPA free. And
it's got BPF or BPS in instead.
It's got BPS.
It's the delta 8 equivalent of getting around the weed law. It's like, this isn't cannabis. This is delta 8. You go, well, I mean, functionally it does the same thing, but you've just changed some molecule that means that legally it's not an issue.
Exactly. It's essentially a good marketing strategy because I know I have many friends that thought BPA free was like, oh, this is healthy, but you have to realize, no, there's still plastic. Like you can put hot water into a BPA free mug that has plastic in it, and you're still going to get microplastics, and you're still going to have the other chemicals like BPS.
So who are the big culprits? What are the big ones?
BPA is one of the biggest ones. BPS is now, coming along because there's a lot of companies that are manufacturing and marketing BPA free. Phthalates are a big one. Those are also found in a lot of like personal hygiene products and cosmetics, shampoos, deodorants, creams, everything, like anything personal hygiene. And then there's also the forever chemicals, PFAS. Those are also found in a variety of things that are water resistant, oil repellent, anything like that. Well, so these chemicals. So I mentioned hormones. They're disrupting testosterone. So there's been a variety of studies looking at, for example, urinary BPA exposure and testosterone levels. And, there's an association with higher urinary BPA exposure, higher urinary BPA, excretion, and lower testosterone. Again, because these things are affecting, they're affecting hormones through feedback loops because they're binding to these estrogen receptors, these androgen receptors. And this is something that microplastics themselves are, leaching in. So if you have microplastics accumulating in your testes, for example, there was a study, it was a small study, it was done that found 100% of people, and they also tested dogs. 100% of both people and dogs had microplastics in their semen. Like not a single sample that didn't have microplastics in semen. And this was also associated with disrupted morphology, so the structure of sperm, and also motility, so the ability to move and swim, right? So this stuff is sort of fundamental, right? It's affecting our reproduction. It's kind of, and it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. Neurodevelopment is a big one because developing, fetuses, like males that are developing, boys that are developing, it's affecting their neurodevelopment. So women that have higher urinary BPA levels are 6 times more likely to have a child diagnosed with autism. Undescended testicles is a big one. It's really common now if you talk to like parents, like how common it is to have a boy with an undescended testicle, and also hypospadia. So that is the in boys, it's the urethra slit where urine comes out of. It's like further back on the penis, and so it's basically some
like
boys have to
warping the
sit.
entire physiology.
Yeah, so your stream isn't normal, right? You might have to sit down to urinate because the slit is like further back on the penis. This is a big thing that phthalates are. It's affecting sexual development because these hormones are really important. They're signaling during development how organs.
You're a male, you're a female.
Exactly. They are.
Can you just do a run through of best tactics for avoidance? Like super simple. This is what we know. I know it's going to be imperfect. I know that everybody with health anxiety is just their heart rate's, 20% higher than it should be. What's the 80-20 on avoiding plastics in consumption?
I do. I think there's imperfect avoidance, right? You're not going to avoid it 100%. But I think I would say the top things to consider and try to implement in your life would be, one, get a high quality reverse osmosis filter, whether it's countertop or whole house system. That's first and foremost. Number two, avoid drinking as much as possible out of plastic bottles. Also, cans are lined with plastic lining as well. So consider that as well. Number three, avoid heating plastic. So really, like the to-go coffee mugs is a big one. Bring your own, mug like this here, Yeti. I bring Yetis I bring them when I travel, and I ask them can you put my latte in this mug? And they do it.
I just had an idea there. So I've become addicted, keep where you are, but I've become addicted to Dutch Bros coffee, and I kind of need to tell the internet about it. It's phenomenal. I wonder if there is a way. I was watching them make it, because when you go through the drive-thru, you can actually see the process of them going through it. A lot of the time when they make an iced coffee, an iced latte, they're pouring it between almost what looks like a cocktailier's shaker, the steel thing, pouring it between that and pouring it between your cup. I haven't done this yet, but one of the things that I thought about, because the cup is typically filled with the ice, then they pour the hot liquid over the ice, and that's what cools it. I was like, if I said, rather than you pouring it from the steel thing into the plastic, could I just get you to do two steel things side by side, put the ice in that one, cool it down, and then pop it into the plastic thing for me? Obviously, the gold standard would be to take your own cup. But if you would say that you don't have that, I also have to assume that iced drinks are going to be better, even if you get a splash of hot hitting the cup that you can't get them to do some fancy cocktail trick with. It's going to cool it down more quickly, so it's not going to liberate for as long, to as small. Exactly.
And if you think about it, if you're getting an iced cup of fill in the blank, that's plastic, the beverage isn't in that cup for that long, right? So the breakdown, it's not really
as
happening.
Opposed to you waiting for 20 minutes for it to become a consumable temperature.
Yeah, or as opposed to like bottled water, like you said, it's like, how long has it been in there, and the heat it's been in, how many trucks has it been on, and warehouses has it, gone through before it's been in that refrigerator that you think is cold. So, and I do want to mention another thing with coffee, but I'll get back to the imperfect avoidance.
So we've got reverse osmosis, not drinking tap water. Second up is avoiding bottled water. Third one is avoiding heating plastic, which would include Tupperware, reheating meals, meal prep companies, stuff like that, I'm going to guess.
Yes, yeah, all that, because that's, they're putting a lot of stuff in plastic, right? And then I did mention like canned soup is really bad because it's in a can that's lined with BPA, and the soup goes in hot. It goes in hot.
Oh, when they fill it?
Yeah. So there have been studies that have compared people that get canned soup to like soup made in glass.
Okay.
And it increases like urinary BPA by 1,000%, which is insanely high.
Do you know what the inside of Tetra Paks are like? Those sort of more carton things? Do you know what I mean by Tetra Pak?
I don't know what's in it, but I'll tell you this, and this is what I was going to get back
Probably
to.
Fucking BPA.
There's something called polylactic acid that you can line. I think you can line cans with it. I know you can line to-go coffee mugs. Like I know Blue Bottle Coffee lines it with polylactic acid rather than like BPA plastic. So polylactic acid, why not replace this plastic lining?
That's not liberated in the same way. Wouldn't impact us.
It's an organic. It's not plastic. Polylactic acid. It's like an organic compound.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, you just have to make sure that with anything, sometimes companies will mix a little plastic in there, and you never really know, right? Like that's always
the supply chain of your plastic, let alone your food.
But let's just assume that everyone's like,
Fair.
credible and doing the right thing. Yeah, polylactic acid I don't know why like Starbucks and all these companies and cans, everything should be lined with it because it's, you know, it's healthy. It's a healthier option.
I'm going to look into that for new tonic. Okay, so what's next up after this? Soup, heating stuff, Tupperware. I mean, dear God, please just replace all of your Tupperware with glass.
Exactly. And also your utensils. Like don't use spatulas that are made of plastic.
Wood
is fine. Yeah, wood. You know, also Teflon, like pans and stuff, coating. Like you want to have stainless steel, or you want to do cast iron or ceramic, right? Like you don't want things that are coated because like you just never know what's in that coating.
I saw a comparison image on Twitter of one of those, the non-stick pans, but one of those that's you've used for 2.5 years and it's got loads of scratches in it, and that causes all hell to break loose and be liberated into the food.
Absolutely. I mean, think about the scratches. Like that stuff is going somewhere. Like where's it going? Right?
It's
going into your food.
It's
right.
It's
going into you. So that's another. Heat is a really big one, and also microwave popcorn. So the inside of bags, the inside of the bags of microwave popcorn are lined with forever chemicals. Forever chemicals, they're called that, PFAS, because it takes our body like 2 to 5 years to get rid of them, and they are carcinogens. They're terrible, and you're heating it up, right? The popcorn's heating up, so popcorn bags is another one. But I think you know, in terms of that, and then you know, with respect to like the foods, obviously, like if you can, like shrimp, eating whole sardines, anything like microplastics are in the digestive tract of those foods. So like limiting, you just don't want to eat shrimp like every day.
What are capsules, 000 capsules for supplements? What's that made of?
What are those?
You know, like a capsule, like
magnesium stearate?
Like any type of creatine capsule or something where it's in it's capsulated as opposed to just
gelatin.
A raw tablet. Is that what it is? Is it gelatin typically?
It's usually not plastic.
I was just looking at it and thinking, I bet that someone somewhere has realized that we can make it 50% cheaper if we use some sort of, but it's typically going to be like a gelatin thing.
Usually a high quality supplement would be, I haven't seen the plastic ones, but I don't go around to the.
Well, that's the first place that I've identified that doesn't have plastics in so far, so I can breathe a sigh of relief around all of the tablets that I take every day.
I think if you're doing those things, though, that's like the majority of trying to decrease your exposure, and then
from the dryer,
right, and then have a HEPA filter in your house. Like
what do you like to use?
I mean, you can use like there's a lot of different. There's like high quality medical grade ones that are a little more expensive, which are great. But for people that are just like say they live in a condo or like they have a small flat or something, you know, even getting like a Honeywell HEPA filter, like for each room, they're really not that expensive, and they do filter out a lot of particulate matter that you're breathing in, including microplastics. So I mean, that's a pretty, I think, feasible option for
good
people.
Start on a endlessly comprehensive list.